Welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas visiting with Mike Johnson from SCORE, also the Canton Carnival of Wheels. Before we move on from SCORE, need to know, what does this look like? Is it like Shark Tank? Does someone come and say, okay, here's my idea, and they have to present it and they have to sell you on this idea? Have you ever turned anybody down?
I can say with certainty we've never turned anybody away. And in fact, if we did, we would actually be going against the charter of SCORE. Our charter says that we're supposed to be the encouragers. We're supposed to be the coaches. And so we may be looking at someone who has an idea that maybe is questionable as to its success. We'll ask some penetrating questions. We'll do some probing. We'll do some follow-ups to initial answers. But that's to help the new client reach his or her own conclusion about the soundness of the idea they have. No, we would not turn someone away. Our charter says we do not speak negatively to someone who has an idea. And in fact, we have had ideas brought to us that at first glance we say, or we think it anyway, But then we've provided the coaching and the encouraging, and we've seen these people move on to some success. So
with a little tweaking.
A little tweaking, some thinking that causes them to think a bit more deeply, a bit more strategically about what they're undertaking. So, yeah.
I wonder, how wonderful for somebody that's got an idea, because a lot of times the first thing you hear is all the reasons why you shouldn't do something. You're an organization.
Actually, just recently we had a client come to us, and after we'd actually scheduled the first appointment, she got back and said, well, I don't think we'll go ahead with this because I went to a flea market and talked to a couple of the merchants there about what I was going to do, and they dumped on the idea. Oh, and my response was, that's not exactly the most scientific approach to testing a new product. They might have seen you as a competitor they didn't want to deal with. Let's get that schedule back on the calendar. Now, after having two counseling sessions with that person, she is moving out with a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of confidence that she is going to succeed, and I think she will.
What a great story. Have you ever had, and I know you need to keep the confidentiality of individual people coming to you, but have you ever had it where you thought, if you and you combined your ideas, man, you'd really have something?
Yes. Well, yes, in a way. There have been occasions when we have had a client come to us and we recognize that if that client were in touch with another client, it could strengthen mutually their businesses. And with each one's permission, we will bring them together, but not without their permission because of the guarantee for confidence.
So neat. Well, before we move on to the Canton Carnival of Wheels, you said 50 different topics. Please don't.
No, not 50 different topics.
50 different workshops.
Yeah, right. As I say, a whole range of them. Some of them are actually offered in series. For example, social media marketing is offered in a series of 4 workshops. People don't have to attend all 4. They can pick and choose, but they are a series of 4.
Let's stop there a second. There would be a slew of people who would love to take social media marketing
Yeah, those workshops are well attended.
I'm sure they are. And must they be participating in SCORE? Or would those be open to the community?
No, those are open to the public. What does often happen is that after someone attends those workshops, then they become a client of SCORE.
Oh, sure.
In fact, we remind them at the outset of each of these workshops that if they want what we call one-on-one or in-person counseling, then we're available for that, and we often are asked to take on people as clients after they've attended a workshop.
So exciting. All right, for the people who are thinking, I really need this, I need this expert advice, how do they contact you, Mike?
They can email cantonscore@gmail.com or phone us at 330-244-3280.
And would there be a place to go to find the list of all of the topics and workshops?
Yes, they can go to canton.score.org and click on local workshops.
All right. Canton Carnival of Wheels. Right. What is this?
Canton Carnival of Wheels, like SCORE, is a 501c3 charitable organization. Our annual vehicle show is held on the second Sunday of September each year. We just had our 9th event a couple Sundays ago. And one way to describe it with some context is just to quickly read the mission statement, which I regard as a paragon of clarity. It says, we will organize family-oriented events featuring vehicles on wheels and sponsors displays that promote their products and services, including latest technologies, to advance business in the community. All net proceeds are donated to a local charity. There are 5 of us who serve as directors, and there's a much larger team who volunteer to take on the various roles to make the annual vehicle show a success. No one is paid a penny. In fact, all the expenses or all the income beyond those expenses that are required goes to the charity. And the designated charity has been and remains the Automotive Technology Scholarship Fund at Stark State College. Wonderful. And we hold that event on the grounds of Stark State. And looking at the preliminary numbers from the show held a couple Sundays ago, we will be giving a gift to Stark State, which will bring the total we've donated to, I know it'll be over $82,000, and those have benefited more than 100 Stark State students with their cost of attending college, and in particular that Automotive Technology Scholarship Fund.
That is so wonderful. I've got to ask you, though, that's very interesting. You have an interesting philosophy because most organizations hold fundraisers to benefit their organization. You hold a fundraiser to benefit something else entirely.
Yeah, in fact, at the end of each show, we look at what we have available, and we keep a pretty minor amount for what we call seed money to cover the essentials to start planning the next year's show. Otherwise, we like to give as much as we can to Stark State. And I have to say, on behalf of Stark State, they openly appreciate our efforts. There's a luncheon at which we actually get to meet the students who are benefiting from the money we've provided to that scholarship fund.
So exciting. What do you do for fundraising as far as SCORE?
Well, SCORE, as I said early on, depends on support from some area foundations and from some banks, law firms, and accounting firms. So we do, in fact, go to those organizations annually. Certainly, we remind them of what we do, and of course, we do remind them of how effectively we've done it. Sometimes, though, it's gratifying that we don't have to make a proposal. We just receive the support. In fact, there's one organization that has us on a special list where, in fact, 2 of them actually now, we don't have to apply each year. We are just notified that another grant is arriving. And we're very transparent about how we use the funds. In fact, we report to our donors how we are using the money that they've been so kind to give us. And I want to say, too, that we get tremendous support from Kent State University at Stark. At no cost to SCORE, they provide us with the office space, the conference rooms, the computers, the phones, and whatever else we need to operate as a business. We do, in fact, operate as a business.
I love that you're able to spend all of your efforts in doing what you do and virtually none of those efforts in trying to raise the funds to be able to do it.
That's right.
That's very great.
Yeah, we don't talk in terms of, 80% of what we net goes. It's 100%.
That's wonderful. Right. Wonderful. All right, let's go back to the Carnival of Wheels.
Right.
What does this look like? How many
automobiles I'll tell you, if someone had come a couple Sundays ago, they would have seen more than 600 vehicles on display. Cars of all ages and colors and designs. And one of my favorite vehicles this year, which became a real eye-catcher, was not a car at all. It was a 1950-ish car carrier, the big trucks you see on the road that are hauling cars around. Today when you see one, it's commonly carrying up to 10 vehicles. But they weren't so big back in the 1950s.
That's true.
And so the one that came in, painted a bright yellow from front to back, was carrying just 3 cars and a motorcycle.
But 1950s cars were kind of pretty big.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a very cool vehicle.
Yeah.
So anyway, there were more than 600 vehicles on display. By the way, there's no charge at all for spectators. The income is derived from the fees paid by those who want to exhibit their vehicles. Then we have sponsors, people who see value in what the Canton Carnival of Wheels is doing. And then we have an array of food vendors, and of course they pay a fee to have a presence at the show. And it's a family event. One of the coolest aspects of it is Hot Wheels racing. there is a person who not only conducts the Hot Wheels racing, but each child who participates is given one of those Hot Wheels racers.
At the end?
Cool.
Wow.
So,
very cool.
So it's very much a family-oriented event that is, it's obviously popular. We have thousands of people who descend on the Stark State campus each year to take a look at what's there.
And is it always held at the same location every year?
Always held on the campus of Stark State. We have use of their huge parking lots out on Frank Road.
So if you want to get a jump on things and get this onto your calendar, it will be the second Sunday in September
of 2017.
2017.
That's right.
Something not to be
And they
missed.
can always go to a website. The Canton Carnival of Wheels will get you right to a website, which provides many, many details on the show, how it's conducted, and what we do.
When did this get started, Mike?
It was actually founded a number of years ago by two then recently retired people from Timken. And it started as a very modest event, maybe 50 vehicles. And then some other additional people were recruited, and some additional energy was thrown into it. And so, as you heard me say a moment ago, now we're exhibiting more than 600 vehicles a year.
And not just cars.
And not just cars. We've had antique motorcycles come in. We invite local safety and fire forces to join us, because we really want kids to be able to get up close to not just the vehicles, but the people in uniform, so that they begin to develop the kind of appreciation for our safety and security people.
Nice.
Right.
What's the interest? Why are we so fascinated with things that move?
Do we have a paleontologist here in the studio with us? A good question. I mean, there's always been an interest in it. I mean, if you know your history, there was thousands of years ago, somebody discovered wheels and decided we would have chariots. and then from the time, those first motorized vehicles came on the road, those so-called horseless carriages, which were seen as threatening by many people because they were upsetting the horses. I really think it comes down to an appreciation for the freedom of movement. That we have. And, there's still some nations on Earth where there's a lot of poverty and where you don't see as many of the kind of vehicles we're used to. You still see a lot of horse-drawn carriages. So it's easy enough for anyone to imagine how much freedom we have because of all the vehicles that are at our disposal. RVs and SUVs, and not to mention all the cars and the motorcycles and so on.
Yes.
And let's not forget pickups.
That's right. And let's not forget that this is not just for antique vehicles.
No, in fact, the Stark County Auto Dealers Association annually supports that Canton Carnival of Wheels, and they had around 100 brand new cars of all makes and models at the show. We also have the Mustang clubbers come in. We have the Corvette clubbers come in, and of course, those are attractive to many people.
All for scholarship. You say that in 2015, more than $72,000 to 95 recipients.
And now we're going to be adding at least $10,000 more, which will benefit at least another half dozen or so students.
Incredible. Mike Johnson from SCORE and the Canton Carnival of Wheels, thank you so much for all that you're doing for our
Well, my
community.
pleasure, and thanks for having me.